Hello everyone, so I'm back for episode 3. So today is April 13th, and in this video I'm going to show you how I transplant the seedlings into some larger 2-gallon trait pots, along with a few other updates. So let's get right to that. So right before we get to transplanting, I just wanted to show you what the 1940 arena plants looked like. So these are on day 6, and so usually that's the time that I strive for to transplant them. So they're quite big, as you can see, and they need to be transplanted. So here are the pots that we're going to be transplanting the plants into. These are 2-gallon trade pots, which ironically is really only a 1.7-gallon pot. So I got them from Greenhouse Megastore. I'll put a link in the description where to get them. They're the number 2 pots in the injection molded nursery containers. So what I first do is I cut these containers in half lengthwise, like around the top, and then I duct tape them together. And so what this does is allows for way easier when you're transplanting out in the garden. It's much easier to do so because you just basically peel off the duct tape, and then it's like then the pot just kind of clamshells open, and then it's just much easier instead of trying to have to flip the pot over and tap it, and it's just too big of a pot and you're risking damaging the root ball and messing up your season. So that's what I do first. After you've done that, what we're going to do is we're going to take, at least for this size pot, and you're going to have to do the measurements on your own if you use a different size pot, but for this size pot, I use 22 cups of Fox Farm Ocean Forest potting soil. Okay, so let's put that in here. Let's put this aside here. Okay, I got a big 5-gallon bucket here. So to that, we're going to add, let's do this. We're going to add 2 tablespoons. Sorry, it's kind of, can't really see what I'm doing here, but we're going to add, hopefully can you see this? Okay, yeah, so we're going to add 2 tablespoons of the mycorrhizal inoculant in here. So 1, 2. Okay, set that aside. And then we're gonna add another 2 tablespoons of that 10-10-10 fertilizer that we used when we were starting seeds. So in goes that. 1, 2. And then 1 tablespoon of the bone meal. This is the bone meal. Let's put 1 tablespoon of that in there. This provides the added calcium and phosphorus for good root growth. Okay. And then 1 tablespoon of powdered molasses. So this is basically just sugar that feeds the microbes that we're putting in here, like the mycorrhizal fungi and some of the other beneficial microbes. That goes in there. Okay, 1 tablespoon of azos. So this is nitrogen fixing bacteria. Same stuff we added when we were mixing the seed starting mix. So stuff's kind of hard to measure. Okay, it's about right. Okay, and then finally 1 tablespoon, reach over here, of root shield. Okay, in goes that. Okay, so now I get to mix that all together. Okay, I think that's good. So now what we're going to do is, let me just set this aside here. So now we're going to add, this is 6 cups of water here. So to that, we're going to add 1/8 teaspoon of some seaweed. So 1/8 teaspoon of that. Okay, set that aside. Okay, and then I have This is the root again, the beneficial microbes root. Okay, and then we're gonna add 1/2 teaspoon of this. Okay, let's mix that up. So now, bring back our dirt here, and we're gonna pour this into here. So this should go. That aside, and then now I gotta mix this up. So now, let's get our pot back that we sliced in half earlier. So now what we're gonna do is put in 10 cups of this into here. So now just kind of spread it around at the bottom here. And then what I do is I take, where did I put it? This is the exact same pot that I have the seedlings in. And this is like a mold. So I put this in here at this height. And then I fill the rest of the mix around here, around it. And so then basically this acts as a mold. So when I take this out, it'll leave a hole that exactly matches the root ball. And so it'll just slip right in when we transplant it. Let's do that. So now, back in a little bit. This, leave that there. See, so out comes the pot. And then you got this perfect mold here. So let me go grab the plants. So here's the plant. And so I'm going to plant it in here. So let's just take this tag off. And so here's the first true leaf that's coming up here. And so we want to orient the plant so that the first true leaf is along the axis of the where we slice the pot in half. So that way it's much easier to transplant it and pull the clamshell open the pot. Okay, so I guess there's nothing at all to do but transplant it. So let's just kind of wiggle it a little slightly just to try to free up the pot from the edges here. Okay, this is always the nerve-wracking part. I think that's all freed up. And here goes nothing. So I put my 2 fingers underneath the base of the plant, and then I flip it over, wiggle it some more. Okay, okay, here it comes, here it comes. Oh, that's a really nice root ball there. Okay, so carefully. Pumpkins do not like the roots damage, so. Okay, so. Plop. Okay, so that's, will be that. And then let's kind of lift the seed leaves up and just kind of. Okay. So you're just going to do the same process for the other plants. And once you're done with them, then put them all under the LED grow light for, again, 16 hours a day. And after that, it's just a waiting game, kind of. Make sure to keep the soil, you know, an even, constant moisture. Don't water too frequently, but you don't want to let it dry out so much that it's like, you know, hurting the plants in that way. But just kind of keep nice, even moisture there. There's enough fertilizer in the ocean forest potting soil, and then that fertilizer that I gave on top of that, which really, honestly, in hindsight, probably wasn't at all a good idea to do that, since I'm kind of getting a little bit of nitrogen bloat and a few other kind of nutrient burns. But so maybe I actually recommend maybe to not add the extra fertilizer to the ocean forest. But then again, like all the fertilizer in that potting soil is enough to carry them through the indoor stage. So don't like add more fertilizer to that. I'll like drench like with some seaweed or again with that root kind of beneficial microbe stuff. like biological kind of stuff, but none of like the chemical fertilizers, not until they get in the ground. So I've been really busy with schoolwork lately, and I really haven't had enough time to give you an update sooner. But today is April 17th, and the plants have been in their pots for around 3 days now. I still have them under the LED light for 16 hours a day, and I still have the fan that'll come on and run 3 or 4 hours a day, just keep that air circulation. So I just give it a little bit of water. I actually haven't given it any water since the transplanting. So yeah, again, like with the seedlings, you don't want to overwater it, because what will happen is that water will displace air in the soil, and then you'll cause issues, and it'll actually, if the plants actually look a little yellow, it's probably because you're overwatering, not any nutrient deficiency, although a nutrient deficiency can also be a culprit. But so far they look pretty good. I know in about a few days or so, I'll probably start exposing them to some sunlight for start in increasing intervals. So let's say the first day you put it outside for like half hour, and then second day an hour, and then third day 2 hours, and then fourth day, 4 hours, etc. And you kind of work your way up. And so when you eventually transplant them outside, they'll be kind of adjusted to the sunlight. That's called hardening off your plants, and it's something you definitely want to do, because you'll shock the plants, because the spectrum of the grow light's different than the sun, so you'll kind of cause issues that way. So I guess there's not really much else to show you. I'll do another update soon when the plants are bigger. So we had a pretty typical spring snowstorm. We got about 2 feet of snow, so that kind of put the kibosh on putting the plants out earlier. If you have the weather, do not plant them at this stage. Plant them quite a bit earlier, usually when the third leaf is just starting to develop. So when you got 2 good-sized leaves, these are way too big for their pots. I do not recommend doing this. I was just forced to do this because you can't transplant out in the garden when there's 2 feet of snow on the ground. But the snow is actually melted out, or mostly melted out, and I'm going to try to transplant today. That's going to be another video, but I just wanted to show you kind of what the plants looked like. Today is April 30th. I was planning on transplanting them April 24th, so that's 20 days after starting the seeds, and usually, 18 to 20 days is what you want to strive for and putting them outside in the garden. But then again, this is not an ideal scenario. Just, my South Dakota weather just is not very, forgiving when planting plants early. So this is kind of what typically happens. But again, don't do this. Plant them way earlier if you can. If you have better weather. Also, part of the reason why these plants are getting in so late is that I was actually touring some colleges for a few days, and I just got back yesterday. So during that time, I kind of had to leave these plants to themselves, and so what happened is the plants kind of grew too close to the light, like Icarus, and so you see this one kind of got a little fried. This one got fried. So this one got fried. Pretty much all of them got fried. So you want to be careful that you raise the light as the plant grows, so it doesn't get too close. Like with that one light app I mentioned earlier, you can want to keep it around 500 ppfd, maybe 600 ppfd, but I think these probably got around 800 potentially. They were when I got home, they were literally an inch from the light, which is way too close. So that's probably what happened here, and so it's a little bit of a bummer, but I think they'll bounce back. These early leaves really don't matter so much. They kind of end up dying off, pretty soon anyway. So just as long as the main vine is okay, that's what's important. But anyway, just thought I'd just tell you that. So thanks for watching. This is going to be the end of this episode, but next episode is going to be when we're transplanting the plants outside into the garden. I will tell you kind of how I prepared the soil over the entire patch, and then also in the specific area where I'm going to plant the plants. I'll kind of tell you how I buried the soil heating cables and then put the cold frame on top and kind of stuff like that. But so that'll be very soon after this, so keep a lookout for that, and see you then. Bye.